YouTube, I am joined by the one, the only, the spherical dude.
It's my new intro now. I like it.
It is. And we've got a great top 10 for you guys today. I think something that we've all enjoyed or maybe grimaced a little at is pulling vanilla monsters in our packs. But the one thing that really spices these up is their flavor text.
Sure. I mean, if you look at like effect monsters, you don't get any background on their lore, but with the vanilla monsters, you get all the information you need. It's great.
I really wish more monsters had them. It really is awesome. It shows like a lot of thought, but we're going to go over the top 10 best. And in terms of humor, in terms of what it does to the card, the top 10 best in our opinion cards. But first, we're going to start with some dishonorable mentions that were pretty boring that could have been a lot better. The first are the Magnet Warriors. And they all have the exact same text. They all read Alpha, Beta, and Gamma, meld as one to form a powerful monster. Like, come on, I get that they all create the same guy, but you could have given them their own personality. These are some of Yugi's most star monsters in the show. You could have done more. And the second, similarly, are another main character, Chaz Princeton's Ojamas. They all read the exact same thing. Like, come on, these are hugely, widely personable creatures that were a main part of the anime, and you just completely gave them nothing.
It seemed like a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But the one, our honorable mentions, though, are going to be all of the Joey text monsters that were released in the Legendary Collection. I feel like if we're talking about the best texts in normal monsters, if we included these on the list, it would basically be the entire list, because these are all hilarious, but they're all hilarious for the same reason. So we felt that we would just mention them real quick before we actually started the real list, because we don't want the entire list to just be taken up with Joey's monsters, although they are quite funny, and if you have some time, feel free to go through them because they're all pretty good.
Yeah, the Joey's Worlds one definitely would have had like a huge impact on this list, but we wanted to take those aside because it's kind of like having a joke set, right? It's Joey speaking over the flavor text of all of these, so it's kind of unfair to the rest because you're giving a loved character from the show his time to have into a card, whereas the rest are all directly from the game. And that brings us to our first and our top 10. DZ, take it away, number 10.
Jerry Beans Man. This card says Jerry, a bean soldier, believes he is the strongest warrior in the world, but his true abilities are still untested. Well, I can say after a decade of Yu-Gi-Oh! That his abilities are in fact still untested, because this card has never seen play in anything. However, I do want to mention that for a very, very, very brief time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links for the mobile game, this card actually was pretty common in the competitive ranked ladder, only for the fact that it had some of the highest attack points of any of the monsters in that game that were easy to get at the time. And it was also a level 3 monster, which got around a couple of the cards that dealt specifically with level 4 monsters. So in a way, Jerry Beans Man was successful, but overall in the main game, this card was pretty bad, which is funny that it maybe someday will get a true tested version of Jerry Beans Man. He's come back from war. He is like a 2,500 attack normal monster. That'd be pretty insane.
Whoa, DZ, I'm gonna let you finish, but this was one of the highest attack monsters that got under level limit area B back in the day.
Oh, that's true. That's even 50 more than Hunter Dragon.
And in our number 9 position is an OCG card. You might have seen its counterpart here in the TCG Gruesome Goo. This is Change Slime, and it's really famous for trolling. It reads, a slime that can morph and adapt to any shape and size of any monster it chooses. So people will be on Dueling Book, they'll summon this and they'll turn it into whatever they want. They'll say ability, effect, and special ability, just turn it into Zark. They'll try to turn it into hard to summon boss monsters and be like, no, my card says I could change it into anything. And while it's kind of funny, as long as those people actually don't adamantly stick there for the judge to like show up like they actually give the win, it's one of the funniest texts because this actually changes into any monster, no matter what the size. It could be one of the largest monsters, such as on Farfa's channel, he did the top 10 largest monsters. It could just become Helios and have the size of a sun for the head.
One of the other funny things about this card is that if effect monsters did have text, this text would pretty much perfectly match what the card Copycat would have as its lore. In a world where effect monsters did have the lore that normal monsters did, it would be funny just because this one's actually could fit with an actual effect monster.
And in the number 8 position, take it away.
Have VORSE Raider. So VORSE Raider has a very open-ended text here. He says, this wicked beast warrior does every horde thing imaginable and loves it. His axe bears the marks of his countless victims. And now this is funny because if we say every horde thing imaginable, that includes everything. That includes being a cannibal, includes doing drugs, includes doing pack openings. It does everything. And the thing that's funny about VORSE Raider to me is that anytime something new comes out that happens to be horrid, he has to do it. It's a very stressful life. VORSE Raider has a checklist of new things that he has to do, and it really prevents him from having any successful relationships. It's tough out there for VORSE Raider.
And then we have him just like, he puts up a 10-minute video, 100 ads, an ad per every 10 seconds. It's just fine. And going down into our number 7 position here, we've got Skulldog MARRON. Now this just screams to me by its flavor text. If you remember the episode of Futurama where Fry's dog waits for him and waits for him and wait for him, oh man, it just screams that episode. Skulldog MARRON reads, a lost dog that wandered off 1,000 years ago. He's still waiting for his master to come for him. It just shows the dedication that puppers, doggos, and every single dog has for its master. It's just completely beautiful. And this entirely scary card that has a long line of lore among its other cards. It ends up becoming a robot in the future. Weird enough.
I was just going to say, if you guys are curious about the history of the dog Marrons, there's like Outstanding Dog and then Mecha. So if you look that up, it's on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trivia and stuff like that. It's a pretty long history of cards, actually. Pretty nice.
And going into our number 6 position here,
have the OG MOKEY. What a funny card. Look at his simplistic design. What a masterpiece. His text is an outcast angel. Nobody knows what he is thinking at all. Sometimes he gets mad, and that is dreadful. Of course, referring to the MOKEY smackdown that he can give to opponents, where he jumps up to 3,000 attack points. I think MOKEY is one of the all-time fan favorite meme cards, and its text is definitely fitting. It's just a card that you look at it and say, what the heck is that thing? And then you get to the text and you're like, oh, nobody knows what the heck this thing is or is thinking. So shout out to MOKEY for being one of the memeiest, that's a word, cards in the history of the game.
Yeah, I remember when Advanced Ritual Art came out, people were scrambling to find ways to shove this in the deck just so they could say that they were using MOKEY in their deck. And in our number 5 position, we have Gladiator Beast ANDAL, who has quite the picture to go along with his text. This one-eyed warrior bear is an aggressive hunter that strikes down its prey with its powerful swipes of its claws. No one can bear the brunt of his tremendously fast and heavy blows. So, first off, this is a bear with man hands. It doesn't have claws. It actually has people hands wrapped into gauntlets that are its quote-unquote claws. So he doesn't even have bear hands. And then he has a bear pun in his flavor text. There's just so much going on for ANDAL here.
Funny about him is that, like, he's clearly just a bear standing on his hind legs. So giving him human hands is such a weird choice. Like, it just looks so, when you notice that, you just can't unnotice it. He always just has like human hand. It's just a bear with human hands, and to make up for the human hands, he has what a normal bear has, which is claws. Like, this could just be a bear and it'd be like the same level of deadliness.
Hey, boo-boo, how about a picnic basket or two? But we're moving into our number 4 here, and we've got one devastating clown.
Mystic Clown, the original Armades, because nothing can stop the mad attack of this powerful creature. Now, there are a lot of old monsters with effects like this, but this one in particular is pretty darn funny because it's truly implying that nothing can stop the attack, and yet Mystic Clown only has 1,500 attack points, which even for the time that it was released was not like the cream of the crop, there were still 1600 and 1700 attack monsters. So I don't know from a design standpoint why they put all these old cards with text that say that they're unstoppable, because there's even like 500 attack monsters that say they're unstoppable. But Mystic Clown, man, if you attack into a Mere Force and your opponent flips it up, you tell them nothing can stop it, and then you can just kill them. It's pretty great.
I really love the absolutes that the older cards gave. They just gave these crazy statements that, like, it can run through anything, it can blow through anything, it can just do anything, like pierce any armor. There's so many great old flavor texts, but this one definitely just seems like the pinnacle. But going into our number 3 position is one of the most questionable flavor texts we have. We've got Boneheimer. This monster wanders the sea, sucking dry any creature it may encounter. So you're telling me that if you're just wandering in the sea, Boneheimer's like $20 is $20. Am I right? Oh man, Jackie,
I don't have a lot of comments to make about this card other than that, like, Boneheimer is the friend that you want to have when you're traveling the ocean.
Jackie told me she kept a copy in her wallet, and I was like, why? Because it always sucked your wallet dry. It's just one of the funniest flavor texts of the game, period. And it's just from a random, like, one of the first sets. I feel like they're more careful nowadays. We don't get cards like this or flavor text like this anymore, but definitely a funny look back through one of the older sets. But in the number 2 position, I see you did a top 10 about rabbits before. This one is definitely up there.
People were mad that this wasn't on the list, but its flavor text is hilarious. So Rabbit Dragon, there's so many adjectives here. There's so many dashes. It's just hilarious. It's a snowfield dwelling, giant ear sporting, super acoustic, snowball-shaped mutant dragon. There's no way anyone can escape. That is just hilarious. Like, that's the only card that I know of that lists that many things to describe it. And I think it's all just sort of a satire on, like, how ridiculous this thing looks. However, I will give it credit. For once, the card that says there's no way anyone can escape, at the very least, it has 2,900 attack points, so it actually is sort of true. But overall, this entire card just seems like a giant joke that Konami wanted to play on the player base, and I personally think it's hilarious.
Well, you sold him short by 50 attack points there, Duggo.
He can crash with Cosmo Queen.
The 2950. It's super powerful. But if Donkey can make it with a dragon, hey, what could a dragon do with a rabbit? Am I right, boys? And then we go into the number 1 position, a card I don't think anybody would be expecting from this list. And it is Goblin Calligrapher, a goblin who devotes himself to mastering perfect calligraphy of the word false. He gives his all to each stroke. So this is a goblin that literally dedicates his life to writing one words. It just reminds me of, like, those kids who dedicate themselves to drawing, like, phallic imagery. But instead, this man dedicates himself tirelessly, endlessly to one word, and that is just false. And of course he appears in Fake Trap, but it's just completely hilarious that you have this scrawny, like, kind of goblin creature that all he wants to do in life is write a singular word.
For sure. And we were talking about this earlier, but Goblin Calligrapher is like another old card that has this just really uncomfortable artwork style that they haven't used in a really long time. But if you think of, like, it's so gross that you can just see, like, all of his individual tendons and muscles, and it's like the Ojama artwork, but a lot of the older cards had this style, and I'm really glad they got away from it, because it definitely made the game just really weird. Like, this is just, like, he's gross to look at. Just focus on his beautiful text. Maybe that's why he has to spell or write false so perfectly, so people don't look at him and say, what the hell are you? But man, I'm so glad they stopped drawing cards like this.
So that's our top 10. We had to slim this down from probably about 50 different cards. So please do tell us in the comment section below, what are some cards that you guys think should have made this list? I know a lot of people might be disappointed. There's not some fast feed on here. There's not some shapes being snatched. There's plenty of amazing flavor text to go around. But we slimmed this down to personally basically our top 5 favorites each and mashed them together for this top 10. And I want to give a huge thanks to DZ here. Go check out his channel. It'll be linked at the end here. Definitely great having him on while I'm gone to Disney, coming to you from the past into the future. Any shout outs here at the end for
Absolutely,
yourself?
especially if you like top 10 lists, because I do plenty of those that are along this style. So if you like this type of video, for sure check out my channel. I do top 10 lists pretty regularly.
All right, thank you, and that's going to be it from us.